this is the meat of the whole meeting. This is what everybody really came for now. This is where we break down and evaluate the TVs, and we get a real serious lesson here. So we'll hand it over to the big pros here. Kevin Miller, thank you.
All right, well, just one of three. For starters, I want you to know what you're looking at right now is all of these panels are in their pre-calibrated state in the best, most accurate picture mode that we could find in them. Not unlike what reviewers will do is they'll pull the TV out, they'll look for the movie mode, the THX mode, what have you, find the most accurate mode and assess the performance of it as it comes out of the box. So right now you're looking at uncalibrated panels. In most cases, if it was THX certified, that's the mode it's in, not with one exception. I'll get to that in a second, the reason why it's not. So the Panasonic is in THX mode, the LG is in THX cinema mode, the two Samsungs are in movie mode because they're not THX certified, but the movie mode in these Samsungs has long been the most accurate mode in the television. In the case of the Elite, it would have been the THX mode for the pre-calibration, except we found a couple of minor bugs when we were calibrating the ISF modes. So we opted to do the calibration of the THX mode instead until that gets straightened out, which it will. Sharp's aware of it, ISF's aware of it. We're feeding them information. We started doing it today, as a matter of fact. So this is in movie mode right now because the next most accurate mode behind THX is movie mode. The Sony is in Cinema 2 because we calibrated Cinema 1. So just take a quick gander at the video pre-calibration for a few minutes, and then we'll change them all into their calibrated modes, and we'll get into the whole process of analyzing the performance of televisions, which is no different than it has been the last 4 years I've been doing it with Robert. What we're basically doing is we're looking at the four most important picture parameters as the human eye sees them. Number one being contrast ratio, which is probably not surprising because of the spec being the most widely advertised in the industry. It in fact is the most important picture parameter to the human eye. It's what's responsible for the depth of the picture and the pop of the picture. In the calibrated modes, we've set the light out, or the peak luminance of the panels, to roughly 35-foot limits. Reason for that is when we shut the lights off, we have a dark room, fairly well-controlled dark room. In fact, Robert had his people paint the ceiling and the wall black this year, which is nice because it keeps any reflection of light from bouncing off of those surfaces and cutting down in the contrast ratio. But 35-foot limits in a dark, controlled environment is ample light output for viewing movies. So we kind of settled on that number. In fact, some of the displays are not capable of much more light output than that and being accurately calibrated, so that's another reason. But it's ample light output for a controlled environment. So I guess with that said, we'll switch all of the panels into their calibrated modes. The Panasonic VT30 will be an ISF night mode.
Day for now.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it's day and night, but day is per 50 on the color.
Ah, okay. You want to explain why, or you want to wait until we get to color? We'll wait until we get to color.
Yeah.
The Sony is in Cinema 1, is calibrated. And speaking of the whole calibration process, we do take this extremely seriously. Dwayne and I and Ed spent the better part of 3 days in this room working on these 6 TVs. We in fact calibrated 3 different modes on this machine. It just took that amount of time to get a handle on this panel because it's new and we don't have a lot of experience with it. But we spent a great deal of time making sure we could get each one of these to perform to its absolute utmost best. And we'll prove that to you in the process by showing you test patterns related to contrast ratio, black level, color accuracy, color decoding, motion resolution, etc. So that you can see that each one of these is on an even playing field. We're not skewing any particular products to be better than another. We're interested in the same thing you are, and that is finding out what is the very best flat panel on the market in 2011. So,
And to that, I just want to say, we ask you to vote when you're voting on purely the performance. No
We got the LG
biases,
as
I
well?
like this brand.
Yeah, I already
No
know.
biases, that's too expensive, I'm not going to vote it high. Forget about the price. Forget about the price, forget about the brand, forget about everything. Vote on the attributes of the image quality, strictly. Later, we can discuss, is it worth the benefit that you get for the extra money? That'll come later. Let's find out who makes the best TV here.
and speaking of that, the data from our pre and post calibration process, we use a software program called CalMan Pro, which creates a 4-color PDF file, and it shows you all the different video performance parameters with graphs and numbers. That's going to be available on Robert's website and my website, tweaktv.com, within the next, I would say, couple of days, maybe.
Yep.
Where you can look at all the raw data. We're going to give you some of that data. We'll give you black level, or what a lot of people are referring to as MLL, minimum luminance level, is
That's
it?
correct.
Contrast ratio, which in a minute I'll explain how we measured it. There are a slew of different kinds of contrast ratio measurements that you can do. We chose one. There's another one which I think is a little more valid. I'll explain that in a minute. But the rest of the measurement data will be up and available to you on the web through Robert's site and my site.